What you're about to watch isn't just another celebrity scandal. It's the unraveling of a billion-dollar empire. Sean Diddy Combs, once seen as hip-hop royalty and a mogul with global influence, is now at the center of one of the most serious federal investigations ever brought against a public figure in music. And just when you thought it couldn't get worse, it does. Without wasting any time, join us as we break down how it all began, what's been uncovered, and why Diddy's case is spiraling deeper by the week. You see, for years there were whispers, quiet rumors in the industry. People who worked with Diddy, security guards, assistants, even fellow artists, would share bits and pieces of what they'd seen or heard. Stories about his need to control everything and everyone around him. Stories of violence, of intimidation, of parties that weren't just wild. They were deeply disturbing, but nothing ever stuck. Diddy was a billionaire, a gatekeeper. He ran his empire with money, connections, and a team of lawyers always on speed dial. Most people were either too scared or too loyal to speak up. Then came late 2023. That's when Cassie Ventura, his ex-girlfriend, former artist, and someone who had been by his side for over a decade, finally broke her silence. She filed a civil lawsuit that didn't just pull back the curtain, it ripped it off completely. In her lawsuit, Cassie laid out a timeline of horrifying abuse that allegedly started when she was just 19 years old. She claimed that Diddy subjected her to years of physical beatings, sometimes punching her so hard she'd be left bruised and isolated for days. She spoke of emotional abuse, where he would break her down, gaslight her, and keep her dependent on him for everything. But it didn't stop there. Cassie described being forced into what she called freak-offs, drug-fueled sex parties that Diddy allegedly orchestrated. According to her, she was made to have sex with male escorts while Diddy watched, filmed, and sometimes joined in. These weren't consensual adult experiences. Cassie said she often had no say, no freedom, and no power to leave. She also claimed Diddy plied her with drugs, kept her in a state of control through fear and manipulation, and threatened her if she ever thought about leaving. At one point, she even said the emotional toll drove her to attempt suicide. And here's the chilling part. She wasn't just accusing him of private relationship issues, she was alleging criminal-level abuse, involving drugs, sex, coercion, and psychological torment, all behind the walls of his multi-million-dollar homes. Now, what shocked everyone wasn't just the allegations, but how fast the lawsuit was settled. Within 24 hours, Diddy wrote Cassie a massive check, reportedly around $20 million, and the case was closed. But by then, the damage had already been done. The silence had been broken. And that one civil case? It turned out to be the spark that lit a firestorm. Because as soon as her story went public, it opened the door for federal investigators, the media, and other alleged victims to start asking questions. Real questions. And what they found only made things worse. Fast forward to March 2024, and that's when everything exploded into public view. Federal agents launched coordinated raids on Diddy's properties in Los Angeles and Miami. And this wasn't some quiet behind-the-scenes operation. It was loud, intense, and impossible to ignore. Homeland Security agents led the charge, backed by helicopters circling overhead, drones scanning the grounds, and heavily armed tactical teams swarming the gates. It looked less like a raid on a music mogul, and more like a military operation. What they found inside was deeply disturbing. Authorities reportedly discovered unregistered firearms and a range of narcotics, although officials haven't yet disclosed the specific types. But that wasn't all. What really raised eyebrows and suspicions was the massive quantity of lubricant scattered throughout the homes, reportedly over 1,000 bottles found in various rooms. On its own, that might sound bizarre, but in the context of the sexual misconduct allegations already circling Diddy, it took on a much darker meaning. Investigators also found digital devices containing sensitive footage, evidence that, according to insiders, could include videos of illegal sexual activity. Some of these videos are believed to show people who didn't consent, didn't know they were being filmed, or were possibly trafficked. Authorities are now looking into whether some of the individuals involved were underage, and whether people were moved across state lines specifically for these acts. That's when the investigation widened. This wasn't just about Diddy's personal behavior anymore. It was about the possibility of a larger criminal operation. federal prosecutors began exploring potential sex trafficking charges, interstate prostitution, and even racketeering under the RICO Act, which is typically used to go after organized crime rings. There's also growing concern that Diddy didn't act alone. Officials are digging into whether he had a network of people, bodyguards, assistants, business associates, who knowingly helped him keep everything quiet and under control for years. In short, the raids didn't just confirm that something shady was going on. They cracked the entire case wide open, and what's coming to light now might only be the beginning. Since Cassie's lawsuit cracked the dam, the floodgates have opened. More alleged victims have stepped out of the shadows, and their stories are just as harrowing, if not worse. In May 2024, a second woman filed a new civil lawsuit against Diddy. Her account didn't just echo Cassie's, it added disturbing new details. She said she was drugged during private encounters and filmed without ever giving consent. She recalled waking up in unfamiliar places, unsure of what had happened the night before. According to her lawsuit, after these incidents, she was paid large sums of money, what she described as hush money, to stay quiet. But even more chilling, she talked about hidden cameras set up throughout Diddy's homes, allegedly used to record people in compromising situations without their knowledge. She described being isolated from friends, and pressured to stay silent through fear and intimidation. And it doesn't end there. As this woman's case gained attention, newly unsealed court documents dropped another bombshell. Allegations that Diddy may have attempted to tamper with witnesses. If proven, that's a serious federal offense, one that could pile on even more criminal charges. Prosecutors aren't taking it lightly. Behind the scenes, federal grand juries are still hearing evidence. Sources close to the investigation say that multiple insiders, including former employees, bodyguards, and close associates, are now cooperating with authorities. And according to some reports, prosecutors are piecing together a sprawling case, one that could potentially connect years of abuse, coercion, and cover-ups. But none of this might have come to light if not for the woman who lit the match, Cassie Ventura. She met Diddy when she was just 19 years old. Young, talented, and full of dreams, she signed to his label, thinking he'd mentor her career. Instead, she found herself pulled into a personal relationship that, according to her, quickly turned into a nightmare. Cassie has said that over the course of their relationship, she was constantly surveilled, followed, monitored, and cut off from the people she loved. She described being emotionally manipulated, physically abused, and stripped of her independence. She wasn't just dating a powerful man, she was living in his world, under his rules. In her words, she wasn't a girlfriend, she was property. And even though her civil lawsuit was settled within a day, that wasn't the end for her. Cassie later testified in federal court under oath. According to people who were present, her testimony was nothing short of devastating. The courtroom was silent. Her words carried weight, not just because of what she'd been through, but because she had the courage to speak about it in front of the world. Insiders said that even people who once stood firmly in Diddy's corner were shaken. Cassie's voice gave others the strength to speak. And as the case continues to unfold, it's clear that her decision to come forward changed everything. As this scandal keeps growing, public opinion is shifting. Fast. Celebrities who once called Diddy a friend are backing away. You'll notice the silence or subtle unfollows. Some are scrubbing old photos. Others have made quiet statements, distancing themselves completely. Meanwhile, big brands aren't waiting around. Sponsorships, business deals, and partnerships are either on pause or being dropped entirely. No one wants to be associated with this kind of controversy, especially not when it involves allegations this serious. And then there are the fans. All over social media, people are asking the same hard question. How did this go on for so long without anyone stopping it? How many people knew? Who helped cover it up? And why didn't anyone say anything until now? Some people say this is long overdue. A reckoning not just for Diddy, but for the music industry as a whole. An industry where power, fame, and money have shielded powerful men from accountability for decades. Others are still in disbelief. They want to see more evidence, more facts before they make up their minds. And that's fair. But here's the thing. The courtroom doesn't care about opinions. It moves on evidence. And right now, the evidence is stacking up. Diddy has publicly denied everything. He's called the accusations baseless lies, and says he's the target of extortion. His lawyers argue that every encounter was between consenting adults and that he's being unfairly attacked because of his success, his fame, and his wealth. But here's what he's up against: multiple federal investigations, including probes into sex trafficking, witness tampering, and even potential racketeering. New lawsuits keep coming. Federal grand juries are still reviewing sealed evidence. And according to legal experts, more indictments could drop any day now. This isn't just another celebrity headline. This is a man who once stood as the face of black excellence and hip-hop success, now possibly staring down decades in prison. What was once seen as confidence now looks like control. What was glamorized as a lavish lifestyle now seems like a cover for something far darker. And it all started to unravel because of one voice: Cassie Ventura. Her bravery didn't just spark a lawsuit. It broke a code of silence. It forced open doors that had stayed locked for years. This story isn't over. It's just beginning. So if you believe in truth, in accountability, and in giving a platform to the people who speak out when it's hardest, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this video. Because this isn't just gossip. It's about power, about control, and about the people finally brave enough to challenge it. And trust me, what's coming next might be even bigger.